This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve. It's an eerie morning here. It's very cloudy. You can see the mist is lifting. Lots of moisture in the air, but patches of blue sky, which definitely means the sun is going to burst through today. So, of course, we're going to be coming to you live from many different locations across South Africa. Lots to see, many creatures, great and small, and fantastic guides, of course. So please jump on board with us all, sit on the back of our safari vehicle, because it's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're jumping on board with me. I am one half of the Juma team, and isn't that view just absolutely spectacular? This view is even more spectacular. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera, but I'm sure you all prefer this one. We're going to go back and take a look at that gorgeous skyline. The sun is already quite high in the sky, but you can see the clouds are just making it absolutely dramatic. Now, I don't have any plans today. There's a few tracks we can follow up on, and I'm just going to bumble, see what we can find. We've had lots of unique, unusual sightings lately. Pangolin, lion hunts, and little battle-ear chick. I may actually even go and check on our newest addition to the avian family. So, of course, everyone, I must remind you, we are live and interactive. So that means that you absolutely must talk to us. Send in your questions, your comments, your jokes, your stories, whatever you wish, using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on the YouTube chat. You can head over to the website, Go to the live safari page, register and submit your questions there. And kids, if you're watching, we 100% want to hear from you. You send in your questions via email because you're special. And that email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. But don't make them too difficult because, well, then we won't know the answer. Let's just take a moment to appreciate this view in front of us right now. So you can see the gorgeous scenario on the weather here in Juma, but let's take a look at the weather across all our locations.
Good morning. Welcome to the dawn. Welcome to a fork-tailed drongo. We had about 5 different bird species in this tree a moment ago, all preening and grooming themselves, getting ready for the early morning activity. The fork-tailed drongo is now shouting while he digs in his armpit to make sure it's all nice and clean before emerging onto the day before us. Hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined by Morgan and Cameron, as always excited and delighted to have you with us. We are going to be doing a spot of birding today. Get your binoculars ready, get your bird books ready, get your bird lists on the way, because there are going to be quizzes, there are going to be bird questions and facts coming your way imminently. Now, it's always nice to do birding, there's always birds around, and I've realized we are coming to the end of our summer season. And a lot of the migrants are going to be leaving. So let's see how many birds we can get on camera in the next few days. We had a few other birds in this tree, but because we didn't get them on camera, we can't count them. So we're just going to keep going. Now, you'll find that these birds wake up in the morning or before going to bed at night, they'll do a little bit of preening and grooming to eradicate any bird lice and any parasites they might have. And then after spending the night, as you would, spending the night in bed, often get out and comb the hair. These birds will often get out and re-zip those flight feathers to make for the day a bit better. Otherwise, like tying your shoelaces, getting your gear all ready, getting your wheels pumped, making sure everything's sort of ready to go for the day. Oh, to the left, Morgan, there's another bird on top. Down and left. Oh, there we go. Middle. What is he? What have we got here? I think it's a bunting. Oh, it's a gone bird. Back to our fork-tailed drongo. So just like you would, we comb our hair, and remember when you comb your hair falls out onto the floor, and if your hair was laden with fleas and with parasites, it would fall into your bed. So you don't do that on your bed. Not many people I know comb their hair in the bed. They do it in the bathroom or in the wash-up room, wherever that might be. So same with these birds. They'll do their preening and grooming away from where they roost for the night. Otherwise, you really haven't done much of a good job by eradicating. There we go. Shake it all out. Shaking out all of the bad bits just to go lie in it again. So it's a very important part of bird behavior. And often is seen in the early dawn as the bird starts to call. A little bit of a neck and chin scratch is also quite useful. Now, I was chatting with some landowners from Nsinga, and they were filming a coqui francolin once, or they were watching one through their binoculars, and they had the smallest little baby, little coqui francolin, which is a francolin we get in this area, and suddenly they saw this like of feathers, and we've got a second one. Goodness gracious, they've just multiplied. And so they saw this plume of feathers just go everywhere, and they looked up, and this fork-tailed drongo had grabbed the baby coqui francolin and took it into the tree and just started pecking it. Now, that's quite traumatic, to be honest. I've always spoken about the fork-tailed drongo as being the honey badger of the sky. But goodness me, I didn't know that they were able to kill such large prey. I thought that was left to the butcher birds or the shrikes, but it seems the opportunistic nature of the fork-tailed drongo and their behavior is one to be watched out for. Okay, well, jump on board with us, everybody. That is bird number 1. We're going to have to step up our game if we want to find you anymore. But yes, you guessed it. If you didn't already guess it, we are going to go and have a look for our little water chickens this morning. That is a bird that not many people have seen, the chicks. Now, we see less and more hens, and we've been seeing a few of them on the show, but to see the chicks, everybody, well, that is something very special. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. I'm going to send you over to Dyke in and beyond Tingana.
We just found a Birmingham pride again this morning. These animals have moved slightly away from the waterhole where we saw them last night. And I'd like to welcome all our viewers at home. Please join me, Dyke Koza, this morning, and Mpo behind me on the camera. And then we just found a Birmingham pride. The animals have moved slightly away from the waterhole where we saw them last night, but they haven't moved that far. But they seems to be a little bit more active than they were last night, because they all sitting up, looking around. Think there may have been something that was trying to come to drink that got their interest, and that's why the animals are looking in that same direction, more or less. As you can see, it's early morning now. Some animals will try and get to the water early in the morning, but it is going to be difficult today for most of the prey species to get down here with these lions being around, and they're not that really hungry, but they'll still try to hunt. I don't think they're going to go too far because they were full last night. But if something come here, they'll definitely hunt. We might see that happen. And yeah, that Birmingham young male is still with them, of which is a good thing for him to be still with the pride. If the Rosemel has gotten here last night, he was going to be chased off. And then the young male is lying just next to the one female there. Doesn't show any much interest on what the rest are looking. Let's watch these animals and see what they're looking at, because I can't see any impala or zebra, maybe other species in the area, unless they had other lions calling. Yes, Cat Eyes, I agree with you. The white lioness is very beautiful. She looks more stunning than the rest, and she's also very distinctive. You can identify her from the rest of the pride, as the color is completely different. But even though she looks different, but she's still a normal lion. Yeah, if something can happen now, you'll all get up and go, because normally this time of the morning, other lions will be calling. While we're sitting here, we might be able to hear other lions calling from far away for territory. And then because these animals are territorial, we might even hear them responding to that. That's just like telling the other lions, this is our territory. As you can see, they're looking in that direction, listening carefully. I heard one of the guides saying there were lions calling earlier this morning, but unfortunately that audio came from far from where we are, so we couldn't hear anything, but I'm sure these lions did hear them calling. It could be what got their interest. All right, we're going to stick around here with these lions and see what they do, and then we're going to go over to Pinda and see what the guys have for us there.
Welcome to Pinda, and we also have some lions here. I'm not sure what the white lions at Ngala are up to at the moment, but these ones all seem to be resting after having moved around last night. They didn't move very far, but it seems like all these lions that we see have relatively big bellies. So you can see that they've probably eaten quite recently. Their mother has literally just lain down in the thicket behind them. My name's Angus, and behind the camera this morning we have OD. Thanks for joining us here on your very own live safari. Beautiful light shining through their fur at the moment. The sun is rising just behind them. A nice covering of dew on the grass as well. It's quite a cool morning here at Pinda. The temperature is starting to get a lot colder in the mornings, which is often actually quite good for safari, because the nocturnal animals will be active for a little bit longer, because it will be cooler for longer periods into the day, which is lovely for us. And you can see these lions were found about 100 meters further behind us, which is a very big open area. And it seems like they've slowly got up and moved 20, 30 meters or so every time. And now they're very close to a thicket where there'll obviously be a bit of shade for them as the sun starts to get high up in the sky. But at the moment, very fast asleep, which is typical of full and well-fed lions. Beautiful tamboti trees behind them. Most of them are quite small still. But there are some mature ones with a darker bark. Baila. The breeding age of a lioness would probably be about 3 years old. And the reason being, they would start being independent of their mothers at around 2. And I suppose they could mate quite soon after that. I'll just double check for you, Viola, but I would guess, as you say, about 3 years old. You can see it's starting to get a lot brighter now, but beautiful sounds coming from this thick, low-lying area behind them. These lions are all female, and they actually move around mainly with their mother at the moment, well, always with their mother, and there are other members of the pride that they do sometimes hang around with, but this pride is not together all the time, which is typical of lions. They do sometimes break apart. They do sometimes just break apart and then get back together depending on the food availability. Some females would go off and try and mate, and often they'll do so alone. Just want to scan around in these trees behind him. Karen, cats will often go and stay in areas where prey is plentiful. So in that respect, you could term it as following the prey. But now in the area where they are, there is an abundance of prey animals around here, which means that having put themselves in the right area, because they a typical walk and stalk predator, they would wait for prey to get quite close to them, or they'll go on a hunt really, but they wouldn't go and follow a particular animal. They'll just move around until they find something. So having found an area where there is a lot of prey, that's where they'll try and do most of their hunting. And what could happen from here is, now that they're quite close to this little tamboti thicket, I mentioned the tamboti trees earlier, they might go and lie there in the shade. And there were actually some impala around here earlier. So if those impala were then to move and try and feed in this open area where they're lying now, and they were all in the shade, they wouldn't have been spotted. And that would be a very good opportunity for them to try and hunt. So a lot of people say lions are only active during the night, which is not true. They are definitely more active during the night, but if they do get a chance to hunt, they will do so. See, the mother's just poked her head up now. So it seems like she's actually alert for anything that may be coming her way. I mentioned how the 3 cubs that we can see are quite full. She looked noticeably skinnier when we saw her get up. So it's likely that she could have caught something relatively small and let them feed first. And now she might be quite interested in trying to catch something for herself as well. So Karen, she'll put herself in the right position and then try and wait for something to come her way.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Cheetah. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Cheetah's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Juma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
If you look here, You can see most of the animals are heads down now, but earlier on they had their heads up, facing or looking away from us. It seems like what got their interest seems to have disappeared. As you can see, they're all heads down. And also looking at them as part of Birmingham Pride. This is the one part of the Birmingham Pride, and the other part we're not sure where they are now. The question to me is, are they gonna or ever gonna join again permanent? Because this seems to be like in this group that we can see here, and then the other ones are just by themselves for quite a few days. And these animals haven't been together for quite some times. Yeah, sometimes this is what will happen with lions, because if the pride gets too big, the animals might split and form a new pride, because some reasons for feeding problems, when they kill something small, like an impala, not everybody gets to eat. So this can be the reason that we now hardly see the whole Birmingham Pride all together. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few months, if these animals are ever going to join together permanent, or they just starting to split and decided to form another pride, of which it will be interesting to see what the Ross males are going to do. Are they going to move between the two different groups, or they're just going to Sorry, Nikonova, didn't hear the question. Can you repeat again? Here it's 8 members. So the 2 adult Lioness and then 4 young females and 2 young males. So the 9th one is the Birmingham young male. So if I include him, it will be 9 animals altogether. But mostly you'll see the 8, because the Birmingham young male get chased off every now and then by the 2 Ross males if they happen to be with this pride, and then he'll move away and try sneak in and join with the other group, and then they leave this group to go back to the other part of this Birmingham pride, and then they'll chase him away. So sometimes he tend to be more by himself, and this will be only 8 members in this part of Birmingham Pride. See, the young white male is growing so fast. Yeah, every couple of days you'll find the pride by themselves, and then those males will disappear for maybe 3-4 days. Last time I've seen the Birmingham or the Ross males with the Birmingham pride was 6-7 days ago. So that shows the males are not always with the pride, and the reason for that, these males can keep maybe 3-4 different prides, and they'll move from one pride to another. As they know, there'll be other males trying to come in and take over the pride. So every few days they'll just move off, join the other pride, and sometimes go off on their own. Especially in summer when it's raining, because when the scent got washed away, that's when they tend to patrol the territory oftenly. Every couple of days, maybe 2-3 days, they'll move around and renew that territory, walk past every single bush that they've scent mark, and then they'll pick up the scent and then they'll spray urine to mark that territory again, to renew the territory. So other lions, if they come, they know this is other lions' territory. See that young male, white male, is not taking his eye off from that direction where the others were looking earlier, but the others seems to be more relaxed now, but he's keeping an eye in that direction. And the one on the furthest distance to the left is also looking, but the adult seems to be relaxed now. Quite amazing. All they're lying down like that, and all of a sudden you see the one that's got his head up now. Because these animals have good senses. As soon as something happens, they'll be all sitting up. Like we sat and watched the two roast males one morning lying flat, and this pride was not too far, maybe 2 kilometers from where we were, and we didn't know they were in the area, and all of a sudden they had them caught something, and they got up and took off in that direction. And then we tried to follow them. We couldn't catch up with them, and I decided we're gonna stop and switch off, because these animals work together as a team when they're hunting. But once the kill has been made, it's like every lion for itself. And then decided we're gonna switch off the vehicle and wait and listen. 5-10 minutes later, we just heard the growl. The two males have got to where the rest of the pride was on a wildebeest kill, and they were growling, fighting over the carcass. That's how, when we knew where they were. Otherwise, it was not easy to catch up with them running through this bush. They look lying there, very cute and then relaxed, but as soon as something happens, the speed that they can run through this bush, you'll never catch up with them, because they want to get there before the last piece is gone. So they're really willing to get something to eat. Yeah, good question. These animals do communicate, even though we can't hear the sound, but the body language that they use, it's really amazing when you watch them hunt, because they'll be lying here and all of a sudden they spot something. They all sit up and look around. As soon as they're all seen the prey, whatever they're gonna go after, they'll start going in all directions to circle around. And then the minute they're ready, it's like one will tell the others that, guys, I'm ready, and then move in and flush the prey towards the rest of the pride. And then if they're lucky, they get something, and unlucky they don't, because sometimes these animals will try hunt every day, but one day they get successful. Sometimes they go for 4 or 5 days with no food. Yeah, try tonight, nothing happens, and they'll try the other day. Yes, they do communicate with each other in a body language, but we cannot hear them or that sound, how they communicate. For instance, now they're just lying like that. As soon as one spots a prey, they are going to be like that. If you look at that young male that keeps sniffing through the air, if you look at the mane, he's already got a little bit of a mane on his chest, and that mane's look slightly brown. Because of that gene, he is gonna have that sort of color at the back of his ears. It's not gonna go complete black because of the white genes. Yeah, we're just gonna spend a few more minutes with this lance and go over to Steve and see what Steve is finding for us. Let's sit and wait and see what these lance are gonna do.
Good morning, welcome to Simbambili. Welcome to some spots in the long grass. Almost impossible to see. I was asked yesterday what animals got the best camouflage. Well, a leopard certainly is almost invisible. If you didn't know it was there, or if it didn't move, you would have absolutely no idea. We have got a big male leopard here, and one of my favorites I have not seen in ages, everybody. This is the Duke of Juma Tingana, lying down here in the long grass, very well camouflaged, right next to the road with with Triple M in Simbambili. I don't know if he's got any kill or anything like that. We were on our way to check the little water chickens when one of the Simbambili guides told us, just over here, you'll find Tingana. So very excited. I'm very excited. I can't remember the last time I've seen him. I don't think the last time I saw him was probably September. Maybe. It's been ages. It's been very long. So I'd like to see a bit of view of him if he decides to stand up and show us his beautiful body. But he gave us a look just now. It's unmistakable. It's definitely him. Spent many a game drive with the Duke of Juma. Happy? Well, so am I, everybody. You know, some days when you decide to just take it easy and go do some birding, things will happen for you. Kind of is the way it works. But we'll probably stay here as long as we can. Obviously, there is the potential of other vehicles from Simbambili wanting to come and see him, or from the east. Maybe they don't know about him. I'm not sure. My game drive radio doesn't seem to be working this morning. So we'll just sit here and wait, see what happens. I know the last 2 times I've worked with Trish, she's managed to find him. James Richard, indeed. Fantastic to have some leopard rosettes. And well, I'd love to show you the characteristic visage of Mr. Tingana, but he is choosing to be a little bit camera shy this morning. But don't worry, everybody, I am sure he will make a move. He'll do something shortly, and we'll get to see him. But this, everybody, is pretty much a good sighting as far as it goes for many other reserves in the country when it comes to leopard. We are very blessed with our leopard sightings here in the Sabi Sands. And I need to soak them all up. Soak them up. But there's one thing that if you don't know, or don't know Tingana, he is a sleeper, everybody. So he could also stay like this, prone for a while. You wouldn't even know. He wouldn't move. But we're hoping. Get up and give us a bit of a yawn. Maybe a bit of a catch stretch. Maybe demonstrate another yoga pose like our buffaloes were doing yesterday morning. I know Lauren absolutely loves Tingana. Jerome, well, he's actually on Simbambili at the moment. He's been moving in and out of Bushbuck. He's comes onto Juma briefly. Bearing in mind all of these areas, Simbambili, Arathusa, Bushbuck, Juma, and Torchwood, all of them encompassed his territory. But he doesn't seem to be behaving like a territorial male anymore, so he just moves where he wants to. He might hear another male calling. He might just go, okay, I'm going to go hang out over there. He might hear another male calling, go hang out over there. So he's basically bouncing between the areas. If he wanted to, if he had the physical ability still, then he would challenge those individuals. But we do believe, without me having seen him in some time, that he's a nomad. And what that means is he'll just be popping up wherever. There's not going to be any sort of route. He's going to move where he feels like moving. And that is, hang on, show us your head. And that is where you'll find him. There's not going to be any sort of pathway that he uses. He actually came from Bushbuck sign to the gate the other day. There's his face. Oh, almost got it. Bushbuck sign to the gate and then around onto Triple M. So normally he would have walked straight through Juma. But it's almost as if he's sort of skirting boundaries, moving in sort of specific areas where Mawati might not be hanging out. We know where Mawati was the last few days. And so the life of a nomad is one of vigilance and just sort of bouncing between sounds and smells. And basically he does that because, well, it's just a lot of work being territorial still. And the physicality required to maintain those boundaries and to maintain the sort of the dominance that came with his reign gets to a point where he just starts getting tired. He just wants to eat. He's still a very, very good hunter, probably still a very good scavenger, probably still steal food from females and maybe younger males. But I reckon if he encountered Mawati, he would probably move off or avoid him altogether. But then old Tingy's probably still got a little bit of something in the fuel tank. He used to walk and patrol Juma and surrounds vigorously with calling, scent marking. We track him all the time and find him. Now we find male leopard tracks. They go quite a fair distance. We never find the animal. It might be due to the fact that it is Mawati. But we do think that Tingana does come in. He came in. We thought there were some tracks after the buffalo yesterday. And where he is now makes a lot of sense because it's exactly where the buffalo came back out again. So he likes to follow buffalo. He's got a little bit of a buffalo flavor. He enjoys. Not just the dung. I don't know if any of you watched the show when we had him actually hunting a buffalo herd. Quite interesting to watch. James, I wouldn't say there's a main diet for leopards. Obviously, if you just had to observe, you would probably come across as leopards' main diets are small antelope. Males would have a few more warthogs. Females mainly small antelope, but they eat everything. They eat snakes, they eat monitor lizards, they eat rodents, birds, they fish, even terrapins, tortoises if they can get through. So it's all about what we find them with. But I think there's 60 odd species of animals that leopards can prey on. So there are plenty of food available, but obviously you never find them with those little fellows, the scrub hares or the franklins. You might find the remnants of it, but you will never actually find them with one of them in a tree and spend 2-3 days observing that. So what we observe is not always exactly what takes place. But over the years, many people have managed to narrow down what leopards will feed on. They'll feed on cheetah as well as wild dog. They'll feed on hyena pups, giraffe, waterbuck. So it's a very interesting sort of topic, and it's something I'm quite keen to put a book together for, a photographic book with stories of guides and with all of the tales through photographic evidence of what a leopard has done, from the craziest prey animals to the more common, to the interactions with other animals, to the comical interactions. And I'd like to put that together as a book with stories, anecdotes, tales of the day, the animal, the lodge area, and show everybody what these animals actually get up to, what we've seen them get up to that no one's actually seen before in a book. Okay, well, we're going to send you over to Kyle, who's dying to say good morning.
Well, and here we are again. A very warm welcome to everybody on this lovely sunny morning here at Swale Kalahari, and we are just bumbling along like I normally do. We're enjoying the sights and the sounds, and we are just meandering along down to a pan to see what we can pick up. But a spectacular morning it is. And it's so great for you folks to join us this morning. My name is Kyle, and behind camera is BK. And thank you very much for jumping on board with this safari vehicle this morning. We are heading down to a pan which is about a half a kilometer away from us. And that's where we're going to take a look for any birds, any tracks or signs left behind by any animals during the night. But a very, very beautiful morning it is. I'm definitely not the star, BK. It's Mother Nature. But all the birds are starting to call. We're in the full swing of dawn chorus, and it's just lovely to sit still for a couple of minutes and just tune oneself in. It's amazing the colour scheme that we have gone through since the end of November, or beginning of November, until now. Very, very different coat we are seeing out and about throughout Swalu. And the change has come very quickly in comparison to other things. You know, when you see change, it's very, very slow, but you blink and it's different. But a very beautiful transformation, and one that we're really lucky to be able to witness. So in and around that pan, we're going to be looking for any signs. There's a few animals that would have moved under cover darkness. A lot of hyena tracks on this road that we're busy driving on, and specifically a spotted hyena because of that differential in the front and hind foot, obviously being similar sized. So a lot of activity, and we're just driving slowly here to see if we can pick them up. We found them that early morning like this. They're normally heading back towards the den side. There's one about 5 kilometers north of us, and then there's another one just south of that beautiful mountain range that you guys are looking at.
I'm just going to see, there's a very good place, I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14. and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a Wild Earth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
Yeah, we're still sitting with the Birmingham Pride. As you can see, the sun is getting a little bit higher and there was a bit of a cloud behind us, so it's breaking through the cloud. I think these animals are not gonna go too far or do much from now. And I'm just gonna drive around them and see what's on the other side, because it looks like they're gonna lie here for the whole day. They're still a bit full from what they ate last night. They're just gonna sit around here and digest a little bit of what's left in their bellies and hope something will come to the water. And if there's nothing on the other side, we may as well leave them, maybe come back later to see if there's any change, because it seems like they're not going to do much now. So from here, we're going to drive past that water hole that's somewhere in the area and then see if we can find other animals drinking. If there's nothing by the water hole, we're going to carry on and try see if we can pick up some leopard tracks and follow up on those leopard tracks, and then hope to see more other species of animals along the way, because it will be really nice to see that. And then now it's about time most of the animals start getting more and more active. As we started this morning, it was a little bit cooler, so I think the sun is coming up now. As you can see clearly, the sun is shining on those animals. And then even for them, they've realized that the sun is up there. So the white female just got to the mother and she was grooming the mother, and now she's grooming herself. So soon they're going to look for a shade and lie on the shade as soon as it starts getting hotter. Let's drive around them and check if there's no impala walking his way past them towards the water, and then we can start leaving these animals and go look for other stuff in the reserve, because this is a very big reserve. Yeah, so let's do that while we're going over to Angus at Pinda and see if the guys have found anything there. And then we're gonna be driving around these animals and head off.
got one, Odie. Welcome back to Pinda, where we are actually watching something extraordinary. We have been watching this Hamaco Hunt. And what it's been doing is flying just over the surface of the water. He's just landed behind a little clump of grass. But he's done it a few times now, and he caught a little platana. And then he seems to go and land in the same spot every time to go and eat it. So I'm hoping that after he's done eating, which will take a minute or so, he'll go and carry on trying to catch another one. What he was doing, he was flying very low over the surface of the water. And he seems to, then he actually just snaps the little platana off the surface. And it's something that I haven't seen anywhere else except here at Pinda. Maybe if any of you have seen it, then let us know. Get involved and give us a comment. Just wish we could see him a little bit better. But I think let's just be patient. Here he comes. And look how he's going straight just above the surface of the water. There seems to be certain areas of the dam where he tries. And look out for little splashes. See, now he's really hovering. And look out for the little splashes on the top of the water as the fish and little frogs realize that something's actually hunting them. Wow, this is awesome. And if any of you were with us yesterday, this is the same waterhole that we... For now, we're going to send you over to Lauren at Juma.
This huge bull has just been walking up Cheetah cut line. He's just walked right in front of our car. And he's heading straight to the marula tree. He is massive. Of course, there's no marulas anymore to feast on. So he's opting for the grass. He was within a meter of the car. He's an old bull, gentleman. Tusks are quite worn down, both of them. Maybe he's ambidextrous. You can hear the starlings. You can hear him tearing up the grass from the root. He's reaching up. I think he's going to have a wee scratch. Oh, I bet that feels good. Their skin is so dry and wrinkly. And of course, it's adapted that way to survive in such dry and hot environments. But it needs a good itch now and then. Gotta scratch that itch or itch that scratch. And it's wrinkly intentionally. African elephants are far wrinklier than their Asian counterparts. And this is to create a larger surface area. So what they're able to do all over their body, even on the soles of their feet, is hold on to moisture in the form of water itself or even muddy soil that contains a lot of moisture. The wrinkles will hold it and assist in cooling them down for a longer period of time. Darcy, you are right. He is such a magnificent bull. Huge. We saw him coming all the way from the bottom of Cheetah Cutline. And going back to the skin, it's not random. The wrinkles are actually millions of little channels. And the skin doesn't shed. It's not like ours. And the wrinkles themselves actually allow for anywhere, depending on the size of the elephant, between 5 to 10 times more water retention than there would be if it was a completely flat surface, than if the skin was completely smooth. 5 to 10 times more water retention. That's a lot, and that's exactly why they're wrinkly. It's not because they don't exfoliate or moisturize. I think we're going to try and see if we can reposition to get a better view. We've now got a bum shot. We didn't want to block the road, so we came up on the other side. You should never block an elephant's path. Okay, we'll give you one last view of this bull here, hiding himself not very well in the vegetation, and we're going to send you guys across to Steve.
Hello everybody, welcome to One-Eyed Pan, and hello to a little water chicken, Lesamoor hen chick. Afrikaans, it's called a klein waterhoender, which translates as little water hen, water chicken. That's very cool. There's two of them. One is just off to the right, it disappeared into the thickets. This one is semi-out in the open. But I can't believe how much they've changed already since we've been seeing them. It's been about a week now. How long have you been here now, Morgan? A week? 5 days. So I've been seeing them for about 2 days before we got here. So it's about a week. And they start to get a little bit of colour to the body. I'm super excited to be able to show you these things, everybody. I was talking with a birding friend of mine who's really, really up there, and he says these are not commonly seen. I have tried to inform a few of the people around here about this, and it doesn't seem like anyone's that interested, which I find very interesting. We had a vehicle actually just pull up to us before, asking us if we'd seen Tingana. We're like, yeah, he's still back over there. But here's a Lesamoor hen chick. He went, okay, cool, and just drove off. Not as great photographic value, I suppose, than a leopard. But I think this is splendid. As many of you have seen in the past, often in leopard or lion sightings, you'll find me doing some birding, because there's always birds around. But you don't often get to see these little fellows, I can tell you that. A little flicking of the tail. Here on camera, little one. Any shout-outs to family and friends? Abba, indeed, baby's always cute and lovely. Another vehicle is on its way here. I wonder if they're going to be interested. Jessica, once they're out of the nest, they're pretty much free moving. So they're able to feed on their own, do their own thing. Able to just sort of go about feeding for themselves. Lessa mohen, chick. Okay. Just here.
That's it?
Yeah, it's just here. Let's see how long they stay. So, 35, 40 days in the nest. And then 5 to 6 weeks being completely independent. So when we first found them, Mum was here. I haven't seen Mum with them again. Haven't seen her with them again. So 35 to 38 days, fledging, and independent at 5 to 6 weeks. But their wings aren't even developed. They don't even have flight feathers. So Mum is able to fly a very slow, heavy flight, but these chicks are still completely covered in down. They don't have feathers at all. Obviously, there we go. You can see its wings. Let's see if it shows us its little wings. He's really playing nicely with us this morning, Morgan. Remember last time how much effort we had to go through to get it on camera? Look at those wings. There's no flight feathers at all on the tail, on the wings. Still completely covered in down feathers. Bunya Billy, I'm not sure. I was sent some information by a viewer by the name of Jane, who says that she's got common moorhens over in Florida. So these are the lesser moorhens. So I don't know where else the common and lesser moorhen occur, but the ones we show you are definitely African species. But they're very closely related to coots, and I think you get different species of them around the world. They might be slightly different in their species name, but I think there are other moorhens and coots around the world. They've all evolved and adapted to the same sort of environment, just like you get swifts and swallows all over the world, different falcons all over the world, all these birds that are fitted into their specific environmental niche. Swimming. Oh no, he's gone back in. He took a plunge into the water, then he went back in again. Went for some deep water. It looked like a real little moorhen there. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to stay here with our little hunting lesser moorhen while we send you over to Pinda with the Hamaco. Welcome back to a very peaceful morning here at Pinda. And we're still sticking with this Hamaco, who's hunting again, but he seems to be resting on the back of hippos as he flies low over the surface. Can you imagine how much? Oh, there we go. Got another one. I'm trying to see exactly what it is. It does look like a little frog, though, of some sort. And he is heading to the little... Yeah? Luckily over here we can see him again. And as hopefully you could all see there,
he didn't take very long to get it into his stomach. Often you'll see them play around a lot with their food and maneuver it around and wash it in the water. Some species of frogs will actually have quite a horrible coating of slime or basically stuff that doesn't taste very nice to the hamaco, so they'll wash them in the water for even up to a few minutes. But obviously whatever he caught there, I think it might have been a platana. That's I know is a favourite food for hamacops. Oh, another one. That was probably the quickest one he's caught all morning. And it's likely he'll go back to that same little patch on the bank. There we go. Let's see how long he takes to eat this one. Oh dear, you're right. That is amazing. And I mentioned earlier, I haven't actually seen it anywhere else but at Phinda. And often when there's a bit of a breeze blowing, at the moment there's not a breath of wind, but often when there is a breeze blowing, they'll fly into the wind because that'll help them stay airborne and allow them to fly a little bit slower as they go into the wind and still generate that same lift. So they'll be able to save a lot of energy as they do this. And there are some places how, oh my word, he's absolutely smashing it this morning. What is that this time? It seems to be the same area as well that he's catching them, so it's like smash and grab at the moment. See, he seems to rinse it in the edge of the dam a couple of times, and then he'll throw his head back and down it'll go. She's just maneuvering it around now. And there we go, gone. Let's see if he comes and tries at the same place again. Maybe he needs to rest a bit. You can imagine how strenuous it is on its body to keep flying. Okay, never mind. I think it's so easy, he's just going to keep going. While the pickings are good, why stop? No way, another one. This is incredible. Beautiful camera work, OD. And then again, he goes to the exact same place. Sure, it's already gone. I've actually never been able to watch it happen so often as this. So I mentioned how I've seen it before on Phinda, but I've never seen a hamaco as successful as this one. It's literally every time. Often you'll watch them for 20 minutes, half an hour, and they won't catch anything. It could be because this one's particularly good at it, or maybe it's just a really good time of year, a good place. Wow, really cool. And I wonder why, but it looks like he's going to try a different part of the dam. It looks like he's actually flying over. Maybe he's caught enough for the morning. Okay, so as this hamaco flies away, I think let's send you over to Kyle, who's also at a beautiful waterhole. And I'm doing something that I never do, which is birding. I never stop birding. Well, beautiful endemic species here that we're looking at. The South African shelduck, and just beautifully presented on that little bank. Oh, heavy days. BK, can you go to the back there. Take a look. That little grebe has got chicks. Go to the back. Yeah, there we go. This little grebe, I think it was about 4 or 5 days ago. There was one chick, and now there's 2 chicks within this body of water. Obviously, they make quite a remarkable nest. And before the big rains that we had a couple of weeks ago, it's the South African shelducks making a noise there. This grebe actually made a nest under that little tree, and we had the rains come through, and obviously the excessive amount of water that came in here, I thought the nest was destroyed. And in the mix of things, one little grebe chick popped out, and now I see there is a second one, which is fantastic. It's just in the shadows there. So that's the adult that's in the shadows on the right-hand side of that log. The chick has this beautiful black and white streaky head, and obviously from the size we can see it's also a chick. Go to the left, BK. A little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the left. There we go. Good morning, little one. There it is. Look at that. It's always lovely to find young birds. And specifically what I came in here is obviously to look for any mammals, but then also to take a look at that blacksmith lapwing nest that we've got on this bank, because they did produce another set of eggs. Obviously with the abundant resource at the moment, birds would seize an opportunity in favourable times and produce a second clutch. So obviously breeding in early parts of the season, and if the season is favourable, birds will then produce a second clutch. Also depends on the bird species, same as mammals. You will seize the opportunity when it presents itself. But it's wonderful to see little birds such as this little grebe in and around this watering hole, and hopefully they stay around for a little while. I'm just trying to pick up on where that little nest is, because in and amongst all this foliage, it's lions, my mom, sorry, do they have a molt migration? They're endemic. The South African shelducks are endemic species, hence the name South African shelduck. On the right there, quickly, BK, on the camel thorn, to our 1 o'clock. That's it. In there, a little bit more up. Yes, what is that? Your lovely African grey hornbull. What a beautiful species of bird to see. Very bland colour scheme, but the markings on the bird I find absolutely delicious. Looks very, very beautiful. It's a very photogenic bird for me, especially if you want to do a black and white shot. If you have that bird in the right spot, they can be really, really beautiful. This is one of 2 prominent species that we find here on Swallow. It's this and then the yellow-billed. But we don't see the grey on a very prominent, if I can say, occasion. So it's always nice to see and observe this lovely bird. You can see it's a hornboth, that beautiful elongated decurved beak. No, just stunning birds. Lovely flight pattern. Oh, wow. Well, everything seems quiet here at the watering hole, which is sometimes a good thing, but it could be the calm before the storm. And yes, to take a little walk around the western side, because obviously we're sitting now in the northeastern corner of this pan. And taking a little walk around, you can pick up tracks a lot better than from the vehicle. Here. Okay. Got a lot of crowned lapwings coming over us. It's actually a lot of them. Wow, 10 plus. Busy flying here. Beautiful. Testing BK's skills early morning. Yeah. Sorry, BK. The bush was in his way. Okay, guys, okay. Wow. Definitely stating their presence. Alrighty. So the South African shell ducks are endemic, so having... Yeah, it's really... it's fairly active this morning with birds, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. So they are endemic, so they don't migrate. They'll have local movements, but endemic to South Africa. Through favourable periods where you have a lot of water spread over a very large area, they will make local movements, obviously pushing out or further to these favourable bodies of water. But like all birds, they will go through a molt, and in terms of their molt period and sequence, I'm really not too sure. I think the viewer's lion ate my mother. I would have to take a look up on that for you, of their molt sequence and definitely period. It's really good information. But they are just striking birds. And when you have a dimorphism, it's always the male that is strikingly or, prominently displayed. In this case, it's actually the other way around, where the male is the one with the grey head. So he's a very bland individual. And then the female is that beautiful whitewashed head individual on the left. And they are fantastic birds to be in and around. And Dylan obviously found the chicks and also the nest, because they will use an abandoned aardvark hole in order to nest. I mean, a duck going underground to lay its eggs. And that is just crazy for me. Sure. There we go. Sorry, I just took a little rep. So the flight feathers are molted in midsummer. I just took a look at my book quickly. In midsummer, when the birds are obviously concentrated in and around a very prominent source of water. So the main flight feathers would be midsummer. I'd have to look a little bit further, obviously, in more detail when I get home, of other forms or other feathers molting throughout the year. The large majority would be in summer when you have available resources to produce more feathers. Here comes that hornboth back. Wow. Yeah, it's right on top there. Oh, wow. I really love the flight pattern of hornbills. Very, very elegant flyers.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Welcome back to the home of the water chickens, where we've just had the most amazing couple of minutes with the two of them feeding. And they swam across this little pan to the other side, and now they are gone. So we're just going to enjoy a moment of stillness and silence and listen to the ambience of the birds in the background. Karen, I've been trying to find the African finfoot for some time. There are a number of other birds that I'll hopefully get in January. There is a tour to Marion Island that I'm hoping to jump on. Which will get you all the albatrosses and all of the shearwaters and all of those birds that I've never managed to get before. I've tried to book a trip off of Simonstown a couple of years ago, and apparently the guy who is doing them doesn't do them anymore. So, looks like I might be doing a Marion Island trip in order to secure many of those birds. So my coastal bird numbers need improvement. There's a lot of LBJs that still need to be ticked off. I need to go to Zimbabwe. I've got some friends that I'm taking on trail actually this year that are from Zim, so maybe I'll go visit them at some point in the right time of year to go and get some of them. And then I also need to get up to the northern fringes of Botswana and Namibia, where I haven't been before. So there's a lot of birds there. Oh, yes, you see where it's standing in the mud there? I am going to go and get a track picture in a minute. Once it moves off with those really large feet, hopefully there will be a picture there of its track, which I've been hoping to acquire. Craig, I actually don't know. I mean, these two have been here the whole time. Mum's been nowhere around. And I think there's very little known about them, to be honest. I mean, all the reading I've tried to do, there's not much that gets said about it. I mean, their movements after the breeding happens here. Inter-African migrant, local November to May, mainly December to April. Some will remain all year round in permanently flooded habitats in Zambia. And that's it, you know. There's really not much said about them. They reckon there's about 8,000 breeding pairs in high rainfall areas in South Africa. So Nailsvlei is a very nice place to go for birding. I want to be doing that again next wet season. I actually reckon Nailsvlei is probably still good right now. Maybe I'll do that. That's a great idea. I've got a couple of days coming up. Nailsvlei is just north of Johannesburg by about an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours. It's a wonderful place. I've been there once before, but out of season. But it's basically a massive floodplain. And these kinds of wading birds and aquatic birds that you find in these reed and floodplain areas are in abundance. So there's a few crakes. Look how blessed are we to be seeing this. There's a few crakes I need to see. Lions 8, my mom wants to know the difference between this and the common. Okay, well, the common moorhen is bigger, has got more red on the face. That, in the adult anyway, females has got a red stripe on the front of the yellow beak, and the greater moorhen or the common has got a much more pronounced red to the face and beak with just a tip of yellow. They both have a white flank stripe. The lesser moorhen's legs are a little bit greener yellow, whereas the common are yellow. And the lesser moorhen is a little bit paler in coloration to the common moorhen. The chicks are quite similar, to be honest. If I just found the chicks, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. Although the bill is pale brownish yellow, has a paler brown neck than the juvenile common moorhen. Greyish-white underparts, lacks the white flank stripe. So, very easy to confuse the two. The only reason I knew for certain these were lesser was because we found Mum. Could have been Dad, I don't know, it's most likely Mum. Amazing how they've changed colour in the last few days. And I think Pinder started off this morning or yesterday with some lesser moor hens. I wonder if they've ever seen any chicks that side. Welcome back. We have found some cheetah. These were the same two cheetah that we were with last night, and they actually haven't moved very far at all. In the screen you're looking at the younger one, and you can see it actually looks quite uncomfortable, so it's lying in the sun, and just to its left is her mother. And you can see that maybe experience has played off in this instance where the mother has lain down in the shade straight away. And I presume that having seen this cub lying in the sun like that, I think it might get up soon. I don't expect them to move very far at this point in time. I think they'll probably be here for the rest of the day. Earlier, Karen asked me if lions would go out in search of prey, or if they'd wait for prey to come to them. I think this would be an instance where these cheetah ate probably around a day ago, and I think it's likely that they'll actually just lie here and wait. They're relatively well concealed here, and I mentioned they're actually very close to where the lions were, so there's a lot of prey around this area, so I think they'll also just sit and wait and take the chance to maybe see if anything comes close enough for them to go into a bit of a stalk and try and catch it later, or at any time throughout the day. Just to answer a question from earlier, Bayla asked me what is the breeding age of a lion, and I guessed at around 3 years old, and that seems to be about right. They seem to only start reproducing, well, females at least, when they're about 3 to 4 years old. And animals like cheetah and leopard will all be quite similar to that. Males will physically be able to breed probably at around 2 years, maybe even younger. But, of course, with animals like lions and leopards, they won't be dominant until they're a lot older and stronger. So it's unlikely that they'll actually breed before that. And the same goes for cheetah. So this particular female won't be territorial. They'll just have a home range, which means they will have an area within which they move around, and a home range will contain everything they need to survive, like food and water. Whereas male cheetah will be territorial. They won't let other males come into their particular territory. And the difference between that and a home range is that a home range is these females will be happy to let, well, they won't necessarily be happy, but they won't markate their particular area to try and prevent other females from going into it. You can see the heaving of that one's stomach. Seems like a lovely patch of sand for them. You can imagine how cool it is for them to go and lie down in that shady area. So this cub's showing all the signs of an animal that might get up soon and Look how they take turns, keeping their head up and watching around them. There is a water pan very, very close to them, about 20 meters off to their left, maybe even less. But cheetah aren't necessarily animals that would be very reliant on water, so they do drink when water is available. But I know in dry areas, the mother's just lifted her head up. It's amazing how quickly they can... There's that pan. It's amazing how quickly they change their behavior. See how the cub now has also just lifted its head up, but it's looking the complete opposite direction to where its mother is looking. Might have been some strange sound that its mother heard, because it doesn't seem to be as interested as it is now, as it was earlier. So I mentioned how they will drink if water is available, but cheetah in dry areas actually hardly ever drink. So things like cheetah in the Kalahari, for example, will get enough moisture from the animals that they hunt. You can see how long and slender she is. The cub's coming into screen now. I mentioned how it was grooming itself, and I thought it was likely that it might get up soon and just go lie down in the shade. So I doubt it'll... get up and move very far. There we go. Down again. You can see them both mirroring each other's behavior. See, look at how the mother now is grooming herself, so maybe there's a chance that she'll get up. Yes, Nevi, these are gorgeous, gorgeous cats. They are powerful to an extent, but not as powerful as animals like leopards and lions, which would be a lot more compact and a lot more muscular. But in terms of running strength, these are the most powerful cats you'll be able to find. Perfectly designed for running fast in the open like this. I mentioned how long and slender she was earlier, so she hardly has any muscle on her actually. She's got muscle on her legs, just at the top of her legs basically, equivalent of our thighs and our shoulders. Other than that, she's as light as possible. Perhaps, except for her tail, which is quite broad and weighs a little bit more than in the other cats like lions and leopards. And the reason being is they actually use it as a rudder to try and help them change direction when they're running very, very fast over open ground. And yesterday we spoke about how their claws don't retract. And you can see one of their claws just sticking out now. Actually 3, now that she's slightly moved her paw. And that actually helps them grip the ground as they're running fast. And they can actually take them or unsheath them more than usual when they're running. And that'll act, I suppose, what the equivalent of what running spikes would do. Just help her get a lot more grip and change direction a little bit easier. So that could be a reason why cheetah have evolved with these claws that don't retract. can see how her camouflage works quite well in a number of different situations. So most of the animals out here actually see in black and white. So even if we think they're camouflaged, they're even more camouflaged to animals that they would prey on, as well as other predators like lions and leopards and hyena, which we'll all see in black and white as well. So those spots will blend in quite well with that dappled sunlight that they're lying in at the moment. Byler, the reason for that cheetahs are not in the same genus as leopards and lions is basically because they have claws that don't retract. So a cheetah's generic name, I think, is Achionyx, which explains a little bit about the Greek word thorn, which is echina, and that, I think, has been taken from their claws, which don't retract. So they definitely are within the same family, Felidae, but it is their claws that differentiates them. They are the only member of the cat family which don't have retractable claws. And then their specific name, Jubatus, some really random information. If you look at the cub for us, which we can see now, you'll be able to notice that mane of hair, and that specific name has actually got reference to that little mane of hair that the cubs have when they're younger. And I think it means in Greek hooded or cloaked, something along those lines.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Cheetah. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Cheetah's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
I love being a cam-up for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Welcome back to One-Eyed Pan, everybody. We just had a slender mongoose come running down and then disappeared. Here we go, on that branch there. Is it 5 inches? Yes. I love it. Do they have red beaks? Or do they have dark beaks? They got dark beaks, so those are the Jameson. 5 inches. So nice to see. You get the red-billed and the Jameson 5-inch, which are very, very similar. Obviously, one's got a red beak and one does not. Little seed-eating birds need to come down to the water to drink, as do most seed-eating birds. And just hidden there in the long grass is probably a little patch. He's flown back up onto the branch. Little 5 inches and wax bills are definitely some of the coolest birds. They're all so little, but they're so colourful, so entertaining. And just he's flying back. Oh. And just above that branch, by a couple of meters, you'll see how much bigger the Birchall's starling is. So much bigger. So whenever we identify birds, everybody, try get into the habit, if you are new to the game, of saying bigger or smaller than. So starling is a good representation of a bird size. So those 5 inches, you would notice, were a lot smaller than a starling. Then you could maybe look at a sparrow. Were they smaller or bigger than a sparrow? And they were definitely smaller. They help you to narrow down where to look for these birds. If you just look at a bird and go, oh, it was red. Well, although there's only so many red birds out there, some birds might be harder to identify than others if you get the size wrong. So always try and work with size. You go from, so sort of a finch, is it smaller than a sparrow? Yes. Finches are smaller than sparrows. Is it bigger than a sparrow? It's bigger than a sparrow, but smaller than a starling. Bigger than a starling, smaller than a guinea fowl. And up you go in the categories until eventually you find the martial eagle. But birds will come and accumulate around these watering holes as it starts to get warm. They often come down in large numbers. As you saw in Tswalu, I think it was a couple of days ago, there's 2 Lana falcons feeding off of a bird. I can't remember what bird it was. But there's always risk. These birds will often sit in bushes, often sit in very thorny bushes on the edge of the water. It was feeding on a swift. That's incredible. So obviously the swift wasn't coming down to drink. He was just flying around. He got caught. So he obviously wasn't that swift. But Lana falcons are very quick. And birds of prey, like falcons, it's all about surprise, and they come out of nowhere. So you'll find many birds accumulating around water like this, waiting to come and drink, and no one really wanting to be the first one down to drink, because the predation potential, especially from large, medium-sized birds of prey, is pretty big. They are diurnal hunters, and they can hit them very quickly from nowhere. But birds have to drink, for the most part. A lot of them can get their liquids from insects, but they will choose to drink when they can. And the more numbers you have, statistically, the less chance it is of it being you who gets eaten. Yes, of course, Susan. Most birds will sleep through the day, through the night. Oh, over there. Can you see that white? It looks like a Jacobin cuckoo. No, or it might be a violet-backed starling. Goodness gracious, is that a violet-backed starling this late in the season? Yes, it is. Plum-coloured or violet-backed starling in breeding season. So Susan, most birds will sleep at night. As soon as it gets towards the night time, they'll all find a little roost, and they'll just, basically where those starlings are now, they might just go, boops, into that bush there, clamp their feet shut and fall asleep right there on the spot. And then owls and your nocturnal birds, nightjars, will sleep during the daytime. But most birds are diurnal, so most birds will be active by day and sleep by night. They might have rest periods in the daytime when it's too hot, where they come to the water and drink and maybe spend some time in the shade, do some cleaning and preening after they've bathed. But most birds, yes, all birds have to sleep. And depending on their time of day activity, they'll be sleeping in the opposite time of day. So owls, although they sleep in the day, are still aware and weary because they get bombed and shouted at by many other organisms like these birds. Okay, so that's three different types of starlings in that tree. One is the Cape Glossy. One was the Birchills, and we had the violet back, commonly known as the plum-coloured starling, still in full breeding, which is quite amazing. I didn't realize they would still be in full breeding plumage at this time of year. As soon as it comes out of breeding plumage, looks very much like the females again. As with all starlings, are cavity nesters, so trees that are killed. Davison Jr., we're looking at some swallows here that are landing. Are these barn swallows? Yeah, they are. The fellows, little barn swallows. Well, these are called barn swallows, Davison Jr., and they're going to go all the way to Europe as soon as they decide it's time. They'll go all the way to Europe. Depends on which species we're talking about, but majority of the birds that come from Europe and Asia, they come down here and don't breed down here. They go back up to breed up in Europe. So the barn swallow, the European bee-eaters, steppe eagles, steppe buzzards, European cuckoo or common cuckoo comes down here, doesn't breed down here. The other cuckoos, though, will come down here and breed. Some of them only going up into central northern Africa, some going all the way into Europe. But the breeding birds we have here that migrate, they only go into sort of central North Africa. They don't cross into the other continent further north. They don't cross the Sahara Desert. They stay within the African continent towards the south of the Sahara. So it's quite a migratory route, many of them. Some will go all the way up to Scandinavia, some into sort of eastern parts of Europe, some all over Europe, some all the way up into the Russian steppes. It really depends on the Amur falcons, for example. They go all the way up into North Russia. It's a very long way to go. And we call these European swallows, but in Europe they're called the barn swallow because they nest in the eaves of buildings with mud nests. So they will be leaving shortly, but it sounds like Angus is on the bird train. Let's go see what birds he's got for you. Welcome back to Phinda, and we've decided to come do some birding. I know that Steve's been with some lesser moorhens quite a lot this morning, so we thought we'd also come back to the two we saw last night, and we managed to find them again. There were two little chicks with them yesterday, and we've managed to see one of those again this morning. Oh, perfect. There's two on the screen now. And they seem to be quite nervous to go out into the open on those beautiful blue water lilies. Wow, that is incredible. Look like its mother was actually feeding it something. It seemed like last night they were a lot more shy, whereas today they're out in the open a lot more. And we're able to see them a little bit better. Got asked last night how they're able to walk around on top of these lilies, and we spoke about how wide their feet are, and you really get to see it now
Wow, look at the little chicks, they're right out in the open now. And it definitely looks like the parents are feeding them. You can see the one at the back looks like the female. And she looked like she keeps on going back to that one particular chick with something in her bill. Awesome to be able to just sit at these annual plan systems. There's another interaction between a parent and one of the little chicks. Gorgeous to see such uncommon birds in this beautiful, beautiful area. Crazed clown, yes, you're right. These are blue water lilies, as you can see by their bluey purplish colour. And you'll notice that most of them are actually open now. So water lilies will usually open up during the day, and then as it gets later in the evening, they'll start to actually close a bit. And I think the reason for that will be that they are pollinated during the day. You'll see there's quite a lot of bees and bumblebees around them here. Hopefully you'll be able to see that on the screen. So with them being open during the day, they'll be able to be pollinated quite easily by all these little invertebrates that are flying around between the flowers. Notice how on the lesser moorhens, the adults, it looks like they are disappearing into the grass. The red part of the bill on the male is a lot more prominent than that on the female. It's actually quite common in birds to see the male slightly more colourful than the females. The chicks are very cute, just exploring the new world that they're living in. James, they have large feet. We spoke about this last night because that helps them spread their weight over the water lilies that they're walking on. And so that helps them walk around on top of them and rather not just sink down into the water. And if they're able to walk, they're able to get a better view of their surroundings and probably easier to hunt. Well, not necessarily hunt, but find food. See, it looks like the female's just gone into the open now. She's a little bit more dull than the male, more grey in colour than dark black. And her bill is not as red as his is. You can see they don't leave the chicks alone for very long periods. They'll go and forage and then they'll rush back to them and maybe feed them a bit. You can see there, James, how easily she walks on top of the lilies using those large feet of hers. And notice if she stands for long, she actually starts to sink underneath. See how she's going down as she stands for quite a while. And then she'll hop onto the next lily.
Odie and I will hang around this waterhole for a little longer. Let's send you over to Kyle at Swally.
Alright, so I've mainly find them within the beautiful rocks of Tswalu's mountain range, the Koronaberg. But then every now and then we get lucky and we find this lovely plant and its very, very distinctive leaves out here in the western reaches. And if you take a look at the structure of those leaves, you can see the leaves almost look like a fan. But then if you look a little bit closer at the margin, so the end part of the leaf, the leaf margin, you can see it has a beautiful wavy pattern to it. This is a very, very unique plant. It's a geophyte, so obviously it has a bulb, very extensive and large bulb. It has multiple layers, almost like scales, that cover this bulb. This is Bushman poison bulb, a very, very widely used plant within multiple areas within South Africa. The San people, the Xhosa, I'm not too sure about Zulu traditions and this lovely plant, but a very, very distinctive plant and very easy to recognize with that lovely leaf structure. So the flowers, it has produced flowers that would have been earlier in the season, but they make this beautiful single-stemmed flower, but then multiple florets almost like on a sphere, almost like a bulb with tiny little flowers. Very, very beautiful looking like flower. It'll be a pinkish to a reddish color, but now the plant is obviously absorbing as much energy or creating as much energy as possible and storing it into that underground root structure. You'd find that porcupine will dig this up and feed on it. Porcupine's tummies are very, very strong and hardy, so they are able to consume a vast array of toxic plants, which will obviously be very, very dangerous to other species. But so the large bulb, not only being utilized by animals, but then also by humans, hence the name Bushman's poison bulb. They would have used the scales from this plant along with other elements such as insects, a bug specifically called the pill bug, and they would have made a volatile concoction, a little bit of poison, and they would have applied that poison to the arrow tip. And with all the various elements mixed in, once that tip of that arrow is coated, if an individual places an arrow correctly, it can bring down a fully grown giraffe in just under 13 minutes. Think about that, 1,300 plus kilograms. And if you place an arrow correctly, you can bring that animal down. Quite an amazing plant. So there's also other uses for it. So arrow poison would be one. But then also it is very, very toxic. So if we had to consume it, it would be fatal. Back in the day, there's also illustrations of the plant being used by the San people for its hallucinogenic properties. So please don't just try any plants, guys. When it comes to utilizing plants, you have to do it in a very respectful manner, because if you utilize the wrong part or the wrong period of the year, so for example, the wrong part of the plant, or you utilize it in the incorrect period of the year, it can be fatal. So when it comes to utilizing plants and extracting all the elements out of it, which is a beautiful thing, think about these people wandering through this vast and very harsh land, and they would have been utilizing plants such as this here, but they would have gone through the process of learning on how to use it, this wonderful plant. So we'll take a look at it a little bit later. We're going to see if maybe we can find one a bit close to the vehicle, and then we can show you up close and personal what this bulb really looks like. But let's send you over to Lauren.
If only we all had eyes in the back of our head. Dobby and I are still here. Unfortunately, we've had a little bit of car trouble this morning. Actually, quite a lot of car trouble. Wendy's not very well, but we've broken down in the perfect place, right next to the Chameleon. Hyena Dane's not active. And you can see, I thought he was a male, but I'm wondering now if it's a female. I don't see any sort of projection at this individual's hind feet But we could be wrong. I just don't like seeing it. It's neutral, but it's not very nice. Now, you can see the coloration here. He or she has got dark splodges. Probably trying to warm up. It was really, really cold this morning. I would say it's the coldest morning I've had since coming back. So now the sun's finally showing its face, and you can slowly feel the warmth. So probably trying to warm up by absorbing heat. That's what the color black does. But also probably not very happy. Woken up and there's a vehicle that broke down next to him. I wouldn't be happy with that either. So probably just showing, hey, not very happy with the situation here. Woken up and Wild Earth are here again. Ugh, can't get rid of them. They watched me sleep last night. So that's what the coloration is shown there. Blending into the background. But the dark splodges will be expressing either he's not very happy or he's trying to absorb some heat because it's been terribly cold. I really love seeing chameleons during the day. And we go through such a long period without seeing them that I always think it's just worth stopping and admiring them, especially during the day. You can see them in colour. You can see how wonderful they look, rather than in infrared. But the chameleons will be struggling. They'll be struggling with the drop in temperatures. They can move their head, Lily Pan, absolutely. But it's their eyes that do most of the work. I don't know what degree they can turn their head. I don't think it's quite as flexible as ours. We can do about 180. I don't think they can get to 180, but they do move their head, of course, but they really don't need to. Their eyes do all the work, and their eyes work independently. They have the tracking eye and the convergent eye. Every time I think about it, I just, wow, blows me away. So really, the chameleon, in order to stay camouflaged, similar to a flower crab spider or even a flower mantis, you are already camouflaged. You already look like the flower or the leaves or the vegetation. But the minute you start to move, you're giving the game away. Vegetation does not move like that. So any potential prey species will say, I'm not going there. There's a mantid or there's a spider or there's a chameleon. So although your coloration is camouflage, you also have to play the part by staying remarkably still. That's the whole point. So he doesn't want to be moving his head. That would give the game away. And that's why they stay so still and they just move eyes on both sides. See? You see how the eye is moving? It's incredible. It's on that sort of turret shaped and it can move 360 degrees. Both eyes moving independently, and therefore why do you need to move the rest of your body, really? He'll need all the food he can get, or he or she, especially since it's getting colder. It's to fuel the body. And therefore the eye movement is very, very subtle. He's able to know everything that's going on. He's got one eye on us, probably one eye on the bushes next to him to see if there's any delicious breakfast around. Completely aware of his surroundings, only by moving the eyes. Look, he's looking completely behind him. Humans do not have that feature, but we wish we did. We're looking at the back of his head here. You can see all those bony protrusions at the neck. And the eye has completely swiveled round to see everything that's going on behind him. It's really remarkable. It's also very entertaining. I wish we could see one hunt. I think if we sat long enough, we probably would. We may have to if we've broken down. He's got to wait, he or she, until insects visit the plants around him. And the tongue's long. He's not restricted to his own little territory. Chameleons can also capture flies, mosquitoes that are airborne, that are flying. That's how remarkable they are. They don't need the insect, the prey, to be stationary. I've watched a chameleon eat a dragonfly before. Dragonflies are large. Heather, they're solitary. You will only really find chameleons together when they're mating. The male and female, of course, will come together, but other than that, they're solitary little beings, or loners, as you said. They can be quite aggressive, the males. They are territorial, and although they don't look it because they're rather slow and, well, every time we visit them, they're not really doing much. They can be really aggressive, the two males, which is normal in most species. The males are aggressive, especially when they're competing for females. But of course, because the ambient temperature is now so low, he's trying to bask, he's trying to absorb solar radiation. And what they can actually do is turn the entire side of the body to face the sun. So they'll move according to where the sun's position, where the sun is, and that side will be darker. So they can change their colour on one side only to make it as dark as possible to try and absorb that solar radiation. And during extremely cold conditions, it's been reported that some chameleons have been unearthed. And that suggests that they're possibly hibernating. If they're staying down in the soil, reducing their metabolic activity, they could possibly be hibernating. Although that's a word that you normally use for mammals, I guess you can say that they're estivating. Okay, we are going to try and move on from our little dude here. Hopefully Wendy's engine is going to start.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to know.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live.
Welcome back to And Beyond Phinda, where these two cheetah have really seemed to settle into the shade for the day. We mentioned earlier how it's likely that they'll stay here for the day. They have shade, there's also water nearby. If they would need to drink, then they have the chance to. Lovely sounds of the bush around them though. It's starting to get warmer and you'll hear more typical birds, or more typical hot weather birds calling now at the moment, like the emerald spotted wood dove and the gorgeous bushbuck, rattling cisticolas. As at this time of day where the cheetah will just be biding their time, waiting for it to get a little bit cooler before they wait around this, or move around this evening. Patterson, this cheetah will leave her mom at about 18 months old to about 2 years old, so anywhere in between that time. Looks like, just judging by its size, it's probably around 1 year old, maybe a little bit younger. So it probably at least has another 6 months with its mother. It'll still have to learn a lot. They generally only start joining in on hunting with their mom when they're about 18 months old, a little bit younger. It might even start trying from time to time at this age, but it won't be much help to her mother. Often when they this age, they don't really understand how to hunt properly, and they can actually very often ruin it because they go stand in the wrong place, they'll blow their cover, they might just charge too early. And although cheetah are extremely fast, they only fast over short distances. They can't keep running at that speed for a very long time. So it's very important for them, like other members of the cat family, to get as close as they can. We were speaking about their claws earlier, and I was hoping we could see it, but if you look at the mother's front left paw, so cheetah, like all cats, have 5 claws on the front, or 5 toes in their front feet and 4 at the back. And the 5th one on the front feet is what we call a dew claw. And because they can't retract their claws into those toes, you can imagine they're quite blunt, except for the dew claw, because the dew claw doesn't actually touch the ground. So in screen now, you're able to see it, or you can see kind of it sticking out behind that tuft of darker hair on the further paw. And behind that is actually a claw, and that claw is the sharpest of all on the cheetah's feet. The reason being is because it's not always rubbing against the ground. You can see those ones that have just come back into shot now, and now they've gone. You can see that they were quite blunt, and that's just from constantly rubbing against the ground. There they are again. And the dew claw will be on the other side, on the side facing away from us, on the front, on the foot closest to us. And on the further foot is just hidden from sight by that dark tuft of hair. You can also see their pad quite nicely. You see it's almost got 3 tiers to it. There's a section, it's a little bit heart-shaped. And that shape of that pad helps them to actually get traction when they are running. So we're going to send you over from these fast asleep cheetah to Steve with his moorhen chicks. Welcome back to Cuteness Overload. I know Angus has also had some little water chickens this morning. Oh, his as cute as ours. They were just cuddled a moment ago together. It was just giving it a little wing a clean. Just the beginnings of some wing feathers starting to form there. Look at those feet. Oh, in South Africa, many people would say, oh, no. So if anything, that's small and cute. Now, they went through, obviously, some bouts of feeding this morning, and now they've decided it's time to just take it really easy. And just before, they were both of them were snuggled up together, out in the open, fully exposed, but still very easily bypassed if you didn't know what you're looking for. Oh, little family portrait. Mum would be so proud, wouldn't she? To see the beginnings of wing feathers there. Look how big my wings are. Those feet. Jackie, 5 to 6 weeks, most likely. 5 to 6 weeks. Probably takes that long for the feathers to develop, for them to be able to fly. At the moment, they are ground birds. Water aquatic birds. Perfectly fine, perfectly safe in this environment. Although they do look a little bit awkward walking through it. Challenge any of you to be able to walk on those little grass stalks without falling over, with feet the size of theirs. A wonderful birding morning. Here's some red-faced mouse birds in the background. Just flew over. Some people almost confuse them with the white-faced whistling ducks. Call. Rattling cisticular calling as well. Chagra. Grey Ghost, I don't know the differences, but I'm sure that they're quite similar because the scientific name of this fellow is actually Gallinule. So let me check that for you. Gallinula ungulata. So they are in the same sort of grouping. the gallinules. We get swamp hens in South Africa. We get the purple gallinule, which is a rare vagrant from America. We get Allen's gallinule, lesser moorhen, common moorhen, red-knobbed coot. They all look very similar. They have very big similarities between them. And the swamp hen's scientific name, hello, is Porphyrio. So I'm not sure why it's different. It used to be known as gallinula. So they are very similar. They look very, very similar to each other. Obviously, the Allen's gallinule is Porphyrio allenii. So where the names come from sometimes is quite tricky, but I'll definitely look into that. What the differences are. They look so similar. You'd actually be hard-pressed trying to identify the difference between some of the adults when you found them immediately. Sizes, perhaps. The gallinule is much smaller than the swamp hen, half the size. Okay, well, we're going to sit here at our watering hole a moment or two longer, get a few more special birds while we're sending over to Lion, who seems to have got her car started.
We have a really special sighting for you all. We have a bushbuck. Hello. Now, bushbucks are the one antelope that we really don't get the chance to show you. They're all around camp. They live in our camp. They love camp life. But really, we very rarely see them on drive. I think I've put one on camera once, to be honest. This is obviously a male due to the horns. And bushbuck are actually the smallest of the spiral-horned antelope. They're very, very small. They're gorgeous. Oh, this is so lovely. We're at Gowrie Dam. I didn't expect to see a bushbuck. They're really shy and really secretive, unless they live in the Wild Earth camp, that is. And they really won't make themselves obvious in any way, shape, or form. They're bigger than a duiker, but definitely a lot smaller than an impala. Their home ranges are generally quite small as well, so in areas where you find a lot of food for them, they're browsers. They're not generally grazers. They will sometimes eat grass, but they tend to browse and supplement their diet with flowers and fruit. Yummy. And their territories can be incredibly small as half a hectare. So that's why you may find not many bushbuck, but when you start to find them, you'll find a lot of bushbuck altogether. They sometimes live in quite high densities. Isn't this so lovely, everyone? We talk about impala, we talk about all the antelope, but very rarely do we talk about bushbuck. Now, Gowrie Dam is, of course, very close to our camp. That's probably why it's here. It's going to slowly make its way to the Wild Earth camp for breakfast. They are generally solitary. You can find same-sex groups, be it all females together and all males, but I've never personally seen that in all the time that I've been here. We have a mother and a little youngster that's slowly getting bigger that live in our camp, but that's the most bushbuck I've ever seen together at one time. And of course, they would be the perfect leopard snack, wouldn't they? If we could find any leopards. Oh, many of you are saying it's such a beautiful buck. Yes, it really is. The females are stunning. I've had a little look with my binos to see if I can see a female. But no luck so far, I'm afraid. If you watch the dam cam, you may see bushbucks more often, but we really, really don't see them on drive. They also do sound alarm. They've also got an alarm call. It's like a bark rather than a snort. And I remember we had a bushbuck that lived in camp that was so habituated you could walk right past it within half a metre and it would just look at you and smile, you know. And well, one night we heard Hosanna take down that Bushbuck, and Bushbuck no more. That was when Hosanna also used to live in our camp, long ago. They're also said to be incredible swimmers. There's actually a male impala stuck in the Nyala Dam right now. Oh, Lily Pond Dam, sorry, up in Buffelshoek. They believe the dogs might have chased it in. And there's hyenas lying in wait, but unfortunately there's no space in Buffelshoek this morning to get up there. But Bushbuck are said to be really, really good swimmers. So even if dogs, or even leopard, chased this male into Gowrie Dam, they would be able to survive. They would swim. So thank goodness Wendy's deciding to work right now, but I think we are just going to sit at Gowrie Dam a little bit longer, and we're going to send you guys down to Kyle and Swallow.
It is always such a treat watching or finding bushbuck. They are sometimes very sneaky animals. It's not too hard to find a giraffe out here though. And a very beautiful scene we have got in front of us. There's a few of them around. There's oryx in the background. I see you swatting away the flies. It's got to be such a frustrating thing not being able to pick them off. I couldn't imagine what an antelope would go through, or what it goes through, by having all these biting flies on it, and you're unable to remove them. It's got to be very frustrating. But their tail, obviously a very efficient tool to swat and ward off flies, especially the biting kind, where they would want to go to those nice warm spots in between the legs. And look how long the giraffe's tail hairs are. And we are going to move off. Just a very beautiful scene, the way the light is illuminating all the vegetation behind the giraffe, now in front of it. Just making sure that we're not moving up on it. So curious. They are very, very curious animals indeed. Gabby, yes, they are different in structure. So, looking at this one over here, you can see they're very thin and dainty. And they almost bend into one another, so almost pointing towards each other. So that's a very clear indication that is a female. And there's also hair on top. So Gabby, yeah, there is a big difference. So females are very thin like this one over here, and bending slightly into one another, whereas the males will be very thick, very robust, and they'll be hairless on top of those ossicones, and they'll be dead straight. So a very big difference. And then you can see the very thin, very elegant body frame of this individual. You can see this is clearly a female. So BK is going to show you on the left-hand side of here. So looking at the structure of this lovely lady, we're going to shoot over here to the left and look at this individual. So even just using the neck, one can ID the sexes from each other. So you can see how robust this individual is. Just even look at the width or the thickness of this individual's neck. Obviously they use their neck for that very important behavior referred to as necking. And obviously then the muscles develop in a much stronger manner, and they are just heavily built in these males. And then if we look at the ossicones, very thick, bald on top, but then also they are very robust. Look how much thicker those are. And he is busy chewing down on some grub at the moment. Just stay there, BK. Everybody just watch his throat. Come on, come on. can actually see the material move up the throat line if it does happen. Now, if we're lucky enough to see it, we get the perfect position, the way that the light is just illuminating the right-hand side of his neck. Come on, come on. Yo! I hope everybody saw that. So that's where the stomach is just pushing up larger pieces of material in the form of a cud, which is like a ball of material or leaf plant material. And now the animal's teeth are working very efficiently by grinding and shredding them up into very fine particles. So once he is finished there, if you didn't catch it, maybe we can catch another glimpse of another ball or a cud coming back up. So it's only when they're in these positions where you can catch the light in this bulbous section. There it comes. Oh no, it wasn't that one. Come on, come on. Oh, I didn't even see that one. But you can actually see the coming up all the way up the throat. You can see he has quite a lot of deposit as well of calcium in the front and then the back of those ossicones. Remember, these heads have to be a little more robust for that male-on-male competition. So having excess deposit of calcium on the head and the skull makes it a lot more sturdier. You can see now bald on top of those ossicones, or hairless, let me say that. It's just enjoying the sunrise, munching away. See those jaw muscles that pulls the bottom jaw up and then it works from right to left to shred and grind that vegetative matter. Beautiful. Very beautiful male, this. It's a lovely scene. But let's send you over to Lauren and see what she has at the watering hole for you guys.
We have found a water monitor lizard. Now this one is extremely small. I think this is a very young monitor lizard. I'm not actually sure what size they hatch at. They obviously hatch from eggs, but I know that the Asian water monitor normally hatches at about 10 inches. I'm just not sure about the Nile water monitor, but I would imagine it would be quite similar. I think this is a very young one. How sweet. Doing exactly what the chameleon was doing, basking. Trying to get any sort of warmth into its body to get a kickstart to its metabolism and start moving. Especially after a night last night, it was so cold. You can even tell by this one's features. Oh. It's tasting something in the air, you see that? Oh, there's lots of insects landing nearby. Oh, it's landing on his head! Are we able to zoom in any further than that, Davi, or is that our...
That's pretty much it.
Oh, I don't quite know what it was, but something landed on his head. I think it was a fly. Or possibly a bee. You see, it's completely spread out. They can also stretch out like that, almost like a star shape, to try and absorb some of the warmth from the substrate, be it a log, be it the sand, be it a rock. I love watching reptiles. They obviously don't move very fast all the time, but when they want to, they can. Ex-Ranger, I haven't heard your name in a very long time. I hope you're well. I'm glad to hear you're still jumping on board with us. You're asking about, are any lizards viviparous? Viviparous means giving birth to live young rather than laying eggs. I'm sure most lizards lay eggs, but I do think there's a species, I think it's a Eurasian lizard, that does give birth to live young, so we would call this viviparous. There's definitely some species that do. I don't know how many. I know the Eurasian lizard does, but most of them, of course, lay eggs. So sweet. Okay, we're going to bumble a little bit closer to home, scratch around quarantine, and we're now going to send you across to Ngala.
Wow, look at that. So there is one baboon who you've got on the screen there coming down from a tree. A very good morning again from Ngala Safari Lodge. I am Marcus Koza and I've got Mpo and camera. There goes Mpo's thumb. So we were here earlier looking at those baboons. So I'm not sure if Mpo will be able to zoom in. There are some impalas as well in this area. And as we're coming in, you might have seen that baboon that was up that tree. So these baboons as well as impalas, you would see sometimes they will be together in an area. So that would be more mutually beneficial for both species. As you can see, or you did see earlier, baboons can climb trees like that, which means they've got a better advantage of seeing predators from a good distance. So if that baboon happened to spot something, a predator, it will alarm. So in turn that would alert these impalas of the danger that you can see that one baboon up that tree. Going up again. Quite nice to see that. I'm not sure if you can hear from a background. There is also a bit of impalas alarming. I wonder what is it that might be seeing that side. Did you hear that? Thank you very much to all the viewers. It's really lovely to join this Wild Earth team. See that baboon still going high up that tree. See, he's up now. And like I mentioned earlier, he will be able to see a great distance from where he is. And I see a second one to the left there.
lovely to see these animals actually coexist in an area like this. And I hear more alarm calling. I'm not sure if you can hear that. I'm not sure what is it that these impalas might be seeing in this area. But also, being these many animals, impalas, baboon troops, so being an area like this with all these animals together, sometimes they will just startle each other like that. It's not something unusual to see. Look at those ones high up there, looking in all sorts of directions to see if there is any danger approaching. This sort of associations where you see these baboons as well as impalas in one area. Come again with that question. A very good question, Jerome. So Jerome wants to know if we get more than one species of baboon here at Tingana. No, Jerome, we only get one species, of which is the Chakma baboon that you got on screen there. This is the only baboon species that we get here at Tingana. And like I was saying earlier, these sort of associations, it is mutually beneficial, but sometimes it would benefit more the baboons than it would the impalas. Because much as you know, these baboons are omnivorous. Much as they eat plants, leaves, and berries, they do also eat meat. So at a time when these impalas are sort of giving birth, there will be a lot of lambs in that area. And the baboons, especially the older males, sometimes will go for those impala lambs. But at a time like this, all these impalas that are here are fairly grown, so I don't think these baboons would go for any of them. So this is more ways, just more eyes looking out for predators, making sure that the area is safe. Look at how high up on the tree those baboons are sitting. So if they can spot a predator coming there, they will get off that tree as quickly as they can. But they will first give alarm calls to alert the others on the ground. Quite beautiful to see those. I'm sure you must have heard that other one calling on the side here. What a beautiful baboon sighting.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far. For all of you Wild Earth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew, hopefully Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Ah, a little warty hog just crossed the road. In this part that we are in at the moment, we don't get to see a warthog on a day-to-day basis because the wild dogs really have affected the population within this area. And so when we find a warthog, it's always such a treat because they are really entertaining animals to watch. Wow, look at a little piglet. Busy chomping away on some grass. They are predominantly grass eaters, so feeding on a large majority of grass throughout the day. And obviously the abundance of species at the moment and the amount of biomass, these animals will be relishing these times. They'll even use the tusk sometimes to crop and almost shear parts of plants. They'll also eat insects here and there. They've been recorded eating carrion or rotting meat, but a large majority of the diet does consist of grass. They're very tough animals. And when there is a drought period, these are one of the first animals to show signs of a stressful environment. Obviously, they will deteriorate in body condition and physically showing you that it is a harsh period. So will zebra. Zebra are also animals or indicators that could show you that the area is going through a drought or a harsher period. Wow, what a treat. When we were sitting at the pan, I said to myself, I really hope I can see a warthog today. Well, it has been absolutely fantastic having you on board with us from myself and BK. It has been a wonderful day. And then to the rest of the colleagues, thank you to them. And then also to you viewers for being with us, asking the questions and being so involved and engaging. It is a remarkable thing for a guide. It's a real privilege when guests are engaging and interacting because that's what makes this so special. Oh, back this way. We'll see you a little bit later.